And we start with this Fox News alert. Israel says it has eliminated 4 senior Iranian intelligence officials, including the IRGC's head of intelligence.
So this comes as Iranian missile strikes kill at least 8 and injure hundreds more as a rocket fire rained down on central and northern Israel overnight.
So chief foreign correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Hey guys, good morning. I do want to start with some breaking news. According to the Israeli military, Israeli fighter jets are currently striking a series of new targets inside Iran. This follows ballistic missile fire launched by the regime overnight at both central and northern Israel. 8 people were killed in those strikes, 5 impact areas, and significant damage caused to residential blocks. We were at one scene in the heart of Tel Aviv, speaking with a survivor from the attack. Take a listen.
When the missiles arrived, we were in the staircase in the building, and the shock was like so huge. I never saw even a piece of a rocket, and to see an explosion right in front of my face and my other face, crazy.
A ballistic missile has just slammed into a building in the center of Tel Aviv. Right now, first responders are trying to put out the flames in the distance. You can see right now there are a variety of paramedics on the scene, police officers and soldiers. And if you come over here, you'll see part of a collapsed building. They don't know if anyone is currently inside, but they are checking right now. 65 total missiles were fired at Israel overnight. The Israelis striking back, killing the head of Iran's intelligence agency and his deputy. The Israelis also say they've taken out 1/3 of the ballistic missile launchers. With that said, this country is bracing for intense days ahead, understanding that the Iranians still can launch large barrages into major population centers. Guys, back to you.
So what would the targets that they're looking for in Iran right now? I think it's kind of interesting that they go for oil and gas. They're going for that. They got the Quds Force. They killed a lot of higher ups, including the lead terrorist. So what are the other targets they're looking for now?
Yeah, in that opening barrage that the Israelis struck into Iran, they killed Hossein Salami, the top commander of the IRGC. This is the top general in all of Iran. He was killed. Nearly their entire Air Force array was killed in a single strike that targeted a meeting point outside the Iranian capital of Tehran. The Israelis have taken out nearly all of Iran's top nuclear scientists. They have killed intelligence heads, police chiefs. They are going after everyone they can in the Iranian capital of Tehran and also on the outskirts of the city. As for the targets, the Israelis have focused many of their strikes on Isfahan and the Natanz facility. These are 2 enrichment facilities in Iran that the Iranians were using to advance their nuclear program. They have not struck deep into the Fordow facility. Part of that could be because they don't have the munition needed to do so. The other part could be that they are not trying to ratchet up the final rung on an escalation ladder that could involve not only targeting Fordow, but also targeting the political leadership in Tehran.
Hey, sure.
So they still have many options on the table, and Israeli officials say they are going to continue using those options.
Trey, Fordow, I have read that is a lot of the nuclear instruments are under the ground, deep under the ground. So they would need our bunker busters. They would need our B-2 bombers. Is America going to help with that? And if so, would that mean we're at war too? And is America helping to shoot down the ballistic missiles?
That's the question of the day, whether or not the Americans will get directly involved in striking Iran. At this point, it appears everything's on the table. The question, though, has to do with the Iranian response to all of this. We talked about this last hour, but it's very important. Iran has stopped short of firing on American embassies or bases in the region. That would be a nightmare scenario for the Iranians, having the American Air Force over the skies of Iran, because the munition that the United States has is much more powerful, and it also has the ability to penetrate deep underground to hit some of those enrichment facilities and also the facilities that are used for Iran's advanced nuclear program. So when we step back without getting too deep into the weeds, Iran is currently enriching uranium at 60% purity. This is very close to weapons-grade material, and it makes the breakout time for a nuclear weapon a matter of weeks. And that is one of 3 reasons the Israelis said they launched this operation. overnight we saw a lot of American assets headed toward the Middle East. And it's an indication that President Trump wants to have the option on the table if he decides to launch strikes directly into Iran. At this point, we don't have any reporting that indicates the Americans will do so. The Iranians, again, have not targeted key U.S. interests in the region. But last night, as you saw, that ballistic missile attack here in the heart of Tel Aviv, just blocks away. We're talking about a 5-minute walk is the U.S. Embassy branch. And according to the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, that branch was slightly damaged in the attack.
So, Trey, maybe you can weigh in on this breaking news. This is from the Times of Israel, trying to get this footage for our network so we can air this. This is coming from Israel. They have footage of this latest strike that they just released. It's the trucks in Tehran ferrying weapons. And then this is what they're saying. The Israeli Air Force identified several trucks carrying surface-to-air missile launchers and other weapons moving from West Iran to Tehran in an attempt to escape the IDF strike. The military is saying that. What do you know about these trucks that were carrying these weapons?
It's not surprising at all, and I've seen a lot of this video overnight talking with Israeli military sources who sent it to Fox News, and you can actually see the drones overhead that are being used to spot for the aircraft. Most of the videos, it comes out in black and white, but you see the strikes. They're not only going after the air defense systems around the capital of Tehran and other cities, and over the weekend we reported at least 40 of them have been taken out. That information came directly to Fox from a senior Israeli intelligence official. But they're also targeting the ballistic missile launchers. The IDF says they've taken out 1/3 of these launchers, so it doesn't completely mitigate the threat, but it is one step forward in trying to stop some of this incoming ballistic missile fire toward major population centers here.
Right. I guess the whole thing would be now, what does Iran do next? They've lost their brain trust, their military minds, their terroristic leader, their special operationalists. They've lost at least 10 leading scientists. The Grand Ayatollah is only alive because the Supreme Leader, because Trump told Netanyahu not to kill him. So you have to wonder what Tehran would be thinking right now. If they desperate enough to hit us? Are they desperate enough to try to shut down the Strait of Hormuz? Do they have the firepower left to do that?
It's hard to get into the minds of these leaders, and I've thought about this a lot over the past 2 years. From the October 7th attack on a fall day in 2023, we saw Iranian proxies in the region get directly involved in the fight. There were incoming missiles coming from Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The Houthis in Yemen were firing ballistic missiles at cities like Tel Aviv. Hamas and Islamic Jihad inside Gaza were launching rockets, and of course that invasion on the 7th. And you have to think, what's the calculation here? Do they believe that they can win in this war? Israeli officials are very clear. They're willing to continue this campaign so that they don't have to deal with the same issue 2 years down the road.
Yep.
As for the Iranians, they are facing increased domestic political pressure because the Iranian people are saying, look, what's the point in all of this? There are strikes across our country, and ultimately the Iranians can kill, let's say, 24 people, and that's the exact number, actually, since this began on Friday night. But they're not going to destroy Israel. They're not going to take out the Jewish state. And the one key factor here is the proxy. The proxies of Iran no longer exist at the capacity that they did on October 6th. The Israelis have taken out Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah in the Lebanese capital of Beirut in the Dakhia neighborhood. They have decimated the Houthis in Yemen, striking their key port. And also the Americans have been involved in striking the Houthis there. They have largely decapitated Hamas and Islamic Jihad, killing not only their top leader, Yahya Sinwar, from the military branch, but also Ismail Haniyeh in the capital of Tehran when he was there to attend a military parade for the new president, Masoud Pezeshkian. So the Iranians no longer have the capability to tell their proxies, fire on Israel. Yep. The only two pieces of leverage that they have are their ballistic missile program that we know the Israelis are taking out in real time, and their nuclear program that Israel continues to target. And if they threaten to advance toward a nuclear weapon that ultimately could be used against Israel with what's left of their program, it's almost certain, according to officials here, that U.S. planes will be involved. And so that's the big question as we look forward here. Will the Iranians threaten to try to advance what's left of their program? Today, we saw a statement from the IAEA over that concern because Iranian officials said we are no longer going to adhere to the agreement. And so this leads to the question, what comes next in the region? And Israel, like I said, is bracing for days of more ballistic missile fire, but Iran is running out of options and levers to pull.
Suicide mission.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Trey.
What a great perspective. Great analysis as well as reporting.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.